We are joined today by Elise Labott, a very good friend of mine, a
Yeah.
wonderful reporter. You probably know her Substack, Cosmopolitics. Elise was a reporter, global affairs correspondent for CNN for more than 3 decades, which is kind of hard to believe since you're 25 years old. I don't know how that
Exactly. I mean, since I was out of diapers, really.
um, you were there for 8 presidential administrations. Oh my God. And you're on TV all the time. And I just saw you on MS Now. I have trouble saying MS Now.
I
I've
know.
been,
I just say MSNBC. Just
okay. All right. Well,
that's
you were great. Yeah, it
thank
works.
you.
Um, and there's so much to talk about in the world today. And today I'm talking to you about something that you probably don't get asked about that much, which is about the women in your life who shaped you. And so I wanted to say thank you first off for coming
Oh,
on.
it's like my pleasure. I don't think we and back at you. I mean, I just love your Substack and I love the humanity with which you write,
Thank you.
particularly about women, but just in general about our history. And you're such
Thank
a
you.
welcome addition to Substack, and it's a thrill to be here because we don't really talk about whether it's the men or women that really help shape who we are today. So
Yeah.
it's this is fun.
It's been interesting because people get kind of emotional about it.
Yeah, I've been
Now, I don't
emotional
want
just preparing for it, really.
yeah, it's kind
Yeah,
of because I think it's so universal for
it
us,
is.
that we
It
all
is.
have somebody who's led us to where we are, or several people. So, your interest in foreign policy is really interesting to me, is a very male dominated space.
Hmm.
And I am curious, is there, first of all, who go through the women in your life, but is there one woman in your life who's kind of shaped your interest in global affairs and, your interest in covering the news that you cover?
What's interesting is I wouldn't say anybody like from my formative years in my childhood or growing up. There were no women that were really interested in foreign affairs. And my interest in foreign affairs came when I took a class in high school called Global Studies. And it was a teacher called Mr. Gorman. And he would come into the class, this was an honors class, Global Studies, and he would talk about all these countries that he heard on CNN. And this was, in the 80s when cable was just starting. And he would talk about Kazakhstan or, all these countries that really we weren't taught of in social studies class. And I said, I want to work for the CNN one day. And that's really how my interest in foreign affairs, we were reading the Foreign Affairs Journal well before it was fashionable. Like in high school, reading a 17-page article was, a big thing.
Yeah.
And so that really started my interest in just other cultures and other, people think of foreign affairs. They just think of, wars or national security. But at the time, it was really just about learning about the world and about different cultures and different food and different music and different, styles. And then in college, I started learning about different styles of government, different political economies. And so that's how that really grew. But, I'd say the only woman that really shaped my interest in foreign affairs was Christiane Amanpour. And then when I went to CNN, she was really helpful in getting me in and helpful along the way. So I would say if there's one woman in the foreign affairs field, it was her. And then, when I was at the State Department, I started covering Madeleine Albright. Then I was covering Connie Rice. Then I was covering Hillary Clinton. And, the introduction of women into diplomacy and foreign affairs, I think brings a dimension into it that the men just don't have.
In terms of the
humanity of it. I mean,
yeah.
Look, each one had Madeleine Albright was very, strong, but she was also kind of humorous. And so if you remember, like one time she said about, I think it was Castro, she said, he has real cojones. And like, if a man said that, you wouldn't think of it. But if a woman said it, you're like, oh, wow. Or Connie Rice, she was very close to the president and, she was very tough. But, if one thing you remember, was do you remember when she had those big black boots and that dress?
Yeah.
And she walked past the army. I should have brought that photo, but that was at the time. And we said something to her, we had a lot of women who covered the State Department together, and we said something to her, and she's like, yeah, the men like that. So women that were able to use their, and Hillary Clinton, I think, was just such a, I think she gets a bad rap because the people that know her is not the Hillary she puts out. She's very guarded, she's very robotic, but she was very funny, and I think dealt with people as we traveled around the world with her with a humanity and a recognizing people and asking about their family that Colin Powell or John Kerry or certainly Tillerson or Pompeo never had. But what's funny is when we were covering Condi Rice, there were about 8 women. And it was mostly women and Glenn Kessler from the Washington Post, who also has a very good Substack, fact-checking politics. And they called us the Diplo Babes. I don't know if you ever heard about them.
No, did that bother you, or were you okay with it?
No, we loved it. And we thought it was hysterical. And we made it into like a supper club. And we would get together with them. The Diplo Babes would get together with this ambassador. The Diplo Babes would get together with the secretary. And this was in like maybe 2006 or 7. And so we traveled around the world together. And then we became like this group of friends, the Diplo Babes. And actually, I'm going to, while I'm on the phone with you, find a photo just from the other day. Please. We get together twice a year, and we have Diplo Babes Christmas, and we give like white elephant gifts where we're all laughing at one another. And it's really funny. It's really funny. Yeah. The Diplo Babes here. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
One of the women, Ann Guerin, just bought a house in Maryland, and we all got together.
Oh, that's so cool.
Helene Cooper's with the New York Times, Michelle Kellerman of NPR, me, that was Ann Guerin, Sue Fleming was with Reuters, Sylvie Lontom, who was with AFP. And the idea is that these women, like over 15 years, we each have our own story, but we were with each other through, work, layoffs, new jobs, family, grief, marriage, kids, grandkids, and moving away. And it's a wonderful group of friends who I treasure. Women, yeah, it's really great. We always say we were going to write a novel or something.
I was going to say, there's a great.
Yeah, I'm going to talk to. Oh, we're talking about it after this.
Let's talk about that. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Going back in time, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Marlboro, New Jersey.
Okay.
I was born in Brooklyn, and
I detect a New York accent. Definitely.
Yeah, it's kind of a Jersey-ish.
Yes.
Jersey adjacent. I grew up in Marlboro, New Jersey, born in Brooklyn. We moved when I was about 3, and it was a really nice kind of community. It was just getting started, one of those, Levitt communities where, they had, and it was a lot of farmland. And I call it Springsteen country because Springsteen grew up in the town right next door, Freehold. And when he sings about Highway 9 or Freehold or whatever, that was right next to me. And so it's kind of right near the shore, central, southeast Jersey. Some of our friends say there is no such thing as central Jersey, but I call it South Central Jersey. So I grew up there, and then I moved to, I went to college, and I grew up there through high school, then went to Wisconsin, University of Wisconsin. And I think what was happening is a lot of college counselors were like pushing it.
Yeah.
At the time, but now it's like a very well-known school, but it was a great place to go to school. And I think that's really shaped more of my interest in foreign affairs. And then I moved to Northern Jersey after school for a little bit. And that's where that's where I got my start in journalism and all of that.
Did you travel a lot as a kid or at all as a kid?
No.
Like abroad? Okay.
No.
So you kind of had like a yearning for it, or did you
I don't know that I did. I think I always had an interest in languages, and I was always attracted to foreign men.
Okay.
All my boyfriends, like I think I dated a couple of Americans, but really, Kate, not that many. I gotta be honest.
Oh my God. Nothing like an accent, right? Nothing like an accent.
Nothing like an accent. But I studied international relations in college, and that became like, I was always writing and I was always interested in journalism. So I had a kind of minor in communications. And then I went to graduate school in New York at the New School for Social Research. And that's when I started kind of this interdisciplinary idea of journalism and international relations. And I started covering the United Nations. And here's a story. How did I write my master's thesis at the UN? It was on at graduate school. It was on UN and public diplomacy. And I went to an event with Madeleine Albright, and she was the UN ambassador at the time. And I kind of accosted her in the elevator, which has become a feature of my career up till like this day, is accosting people and being like, "Hi, Madam Secretary, I'm Elise Labott. I'm writing my thesis about the UN." And she turned to her aide, who his name was Walter Douglas, and she said, "Help her." Wow. And he did. And, he set me up with all these people at the UN, and he did an interview. And that's how I wrote my master's thesis on public diplomacy.
Oh my God. I love that. Because she always said, right, there's a special place in hell for women that don't help each other. And she actually practiced what she preached. Because that doesn't happen enough.
No, I think it doesn't. And it very rarely happens today. I think it was more the women that were not coming up, that were really, had to break the door down.
Yeah.
I think those are the women that understand how hard it was. Mm-hmm. And so they know the importance of helping other women. Mm-hmm. But I'd say women today are afraid of other women. And how many bosses did you have who were women that just didn't like women, or, women in high positions that like, they're afraid that even though like I'm no threat to, name your top, Christiane never had that problem, but, there are top level correspondents, women that, I felt like, were, especially in national security, were a lonely field, and they could have been more helpful. And it was painful that they weren't.
Please tell me that was Barbara Starr helpful?
Oh yeah. Barbara Starr is.
I love her.
Babs. I love her. I love her. And I love that since she's left CNN, she was always like, Johnny on the spot with the reporting.
Yeah.
But now that she's left CNN and she's doing other things, like she's so funny and she has so much humor. And so, sometimes we'll do a Substack together, and she just, you know what I mean? It's a whole new perspective that she feels more comfortable bringing. And me too. I mean, when you leave the traditional media and you're able to like have a voice, it's so, empowering
and liberating, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, it must be for you, because on CNN, there were certain things that you couldn't say that you can say now and be really open.
Well, I don't know. I mean, this has mythic proportions in my head, but I was suspended once, if you remember, for a tweet.
I don't remember.
Okay. So this was like in 15 or 16. And this was when Trump was just coming up, like right after his escalator at the Trump, and so he started this whole thing about the Muslim ban. And so he pushed Republicans to push for this, but it wasn't just Republicans. It was a bipartisan measure to ban Syrian refugees. And this was a time when Twitter was just kind of getting going. And on one hand, our editors were asking us to have more of a voice, but then you also have to,
it's impossible. Yes. How do you have both? I mean, how do you?
Exactly. And so what do you do? And I kind of said something like, Congress bans all Syrian refugees. Something like Statue of Liberty is bowing head in shame. It was voicey. It was probably a little inappropriate. But if you look at what's happening right now, and the editorializing that's going on now, that should have been, for me, it was a teaching moment. And it should have been, kind of an inflection point. But I'm not bitter about it at all. But, they kind of used me to say, we're going to take action. Some guy at the Washington Post, who will remain nameless, but really went after me and wrote about it. And they kind of forced they forced the leadership at the time to kind of do something. I felt the punishment didn't really fit the crime, but
Yeah.
people were fired for much less. And so I took my punishment. I went to Puerto Rico for a little bit, sat on the beach and reflected. And, I came back, but as Trump came into power and more people were using that voice, I think there's no line anymore between journalism and commentary. I mean, I really like that I can bring my reporting and analysis together. But I've never been a partisan person. In fact, to a fault that I really try to see both sides.
Yeah.
I'm not like moral equivalence, but there are two sides to every story, even if both of them are not right. And so I just think nowadays, which is why I'm glad I'm not in mainstream media anymore. Cause and even honestly here on Substack, Kate, I think a lot of people, and sometimes even on this platform, it just becomes like a big bitch rant fest. And it needs to be more sophisticated way of discussing these issues and finding common ground, even if we don't agree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that you do a good job of that on your side.
I try, but I get, sometimes people, I'm too pro-Trump or too pro-Democrat. Other times I'm not
There's no way
enough. And I know that's why I'm doing my job the right way, because I'm, explaining all the equities. I have, based on my years of reporting and analysis, have, some thoughts about it, but I don't begrudge other people unless it's with hatred or inciting violence or not factual. I try to let everybody have their say.
Do you vote? I mean, I vote. No. You don't?
I vote. No, I vote, but I won't vote for an office if I don't like either of the candidates. I'm not a person that says, except I have done that in recent years. I also live in DC, so I have the luxury of doing that because I know it's going one way.
Right.
But I'm a registered independent, and I'll vote on the platform or the candidate if I feel like my vote means something to me. So I don't vote just to see eeny, meeny, miny, mo, they both suck, and let me just choose one. I think in recent years, it's become a little bit harder to
not to
vote.
Yeah, because a lot of journalists, friends that I have, well, a handful of them, Chris Liza is one of them. He used to not vote, and now he's changed to voting, which I think is really important because your voice, I mean, as cliche as it sounds, I think it's there. Can you be completely unbiased as a journalist? No.
You might be able to.
You can try. That's important.
You can try. You can't be. You can be nonpartisan.
Yes.
You can't be biased because bias comes from lived experience. So here's an example. When I was younger, growing up, my parents were Republican. And so I voted Republican in the first election. What was that, Reagan or something? I don't remember. But, then what happened was, I don't know, it wasn't Reagan. I'm dating myself. But I don't know. It was after that. I'm 25.
Bush.
So Bush.
Yes.
And then my mother, who we'll talk about, became sick and needed social services.
Oh, interesting.
And then the Democratic agenda became more important, and I moved Democrat. Now, once I got more into journalism and I became an independent, and I vote based on my conscience and those type of things. But you can't say your lived experience doesn't form who you are.
Oh my God, absolutely. My parents were Republicans before Trump, and I went to Barnard, and it's a very liberal college, and I thought I was like being a renegade by being a Republican at the time, like 2000, and now I think it's just like you say, your lived experience. You see that there's really no social safety net for people. You see how hard it is.
Exactly, and also I think in terms of. It used to be more about a party platform, and it used to be more about, where the direction of the country. But everyone, the goals were pretty much the same. It was really just the tactics. Now it's so different.
Oh,
It's like we're voting on two different Americas. And, I think
yeah.
most people have a pretty clear idea of which America they want to live in. So I think it's like a little easier to make a choice.
I think so too. So back to the women in your life, because I could talk to you about politics.
Yeah, yeah, that could be another. You'll come on mine and we'll talk about that.
I would love that. I want to come to your cocktail hour that you do with Danielle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's called Hot Takes Happy Hour. We do it every Thursday here on Substack.
Yes.
So I hope you'll join us. Danielle Pletka is one of my closest friends. She is, I like to say, she's like a paleo conservative. She's like a Dick Cheney wool in the dye or dye in the wool conservative from the American Enterprise Institute, AEI.
Yeah.
And she was one of the first people I met here in Washington, and someone I relied on for the conservative point of view at CNN, and set me up with a lot of interviews and things like that. And over the years, she became a very good friend. And then when I left CNN, we became closer, and she invited me to a delegation that she was doing to Taiwan for the elections years ago, I think in like 2019. And she just became one of my closest friends. And she has a Substack called What the Hell is Going On, which is really about foreign affairs from a conservative point of view. And it's very sharp. And it's very smart, and she does it with Mark Thiessen. And I don't agree with all of their policies or ideas, and a lot of things, particularly on the domestic, Danny and I don't agree on. But we did get a kind of, and it goes back to what we were saying about the media, which is, people can't have like a reasoned debate anymore and a reasoned conversation. No. It's so polarizing and polemic, and like, why don't we do something where we just discuss the issues of the day and we debate them? And so I'm more of a centrist,
Yeah.
So I don't like to say like she's a conservative and I'm the liberal, because I'm not, you know what I mean? I go back and forth based on the issue and the argument. But anyway, we disagree on a lot of things, but we also agree on a lot of things, but we talk about it from our knowledge base and our experience and our research. And it's, you know what I mean? But it's fun.
It's smart.
It's smart, I think. And we call it Hot Takes Happy Hour. And Danny's like a really good bartender. So sometimes she'll make a cocktail and we'll put it out there. But we have a lot of fun. And we get some pretty high level viewers. So like some former generals and some former national security. I saw that Steve Hadley, who is one of my mentors, actually. Former national security advisor under President Bush watches. So that was really a thrill. And
I love that because because people they're even hungry for it, right? Like they're hungry for not partisan debate, for actual like intelligent conversation.
Yeah, but I mean, one time I saw Mark Kimmett, retired General 4-star, and I'm like, oh, all right.
Yeah. It's like, he cares what I think.
I mean, and I think like, we're finding our audience, as are you. Yes. It is true that the kind of clickbaity stuff, is the one that sells. But, there are people on the platform that really want to hear kind of smart commentary. So
I think so too. I think people are hungry for it. And I think people want to hear how someone like you was, has to me, it's a lot about the confidence that it takes and the sort of, there is a tremendous amount of, I don't think willpower is necessarily the right word, but I mean, you've had to like stand up. Resilience and really like, and especially now being an independent journalist, and I found this myself, you have to keep going and like you believe in certain stories and you want to champion them. And
and also just getting a job, like it wasn't easy. I didn't have, there are people that are lucky or they have a handout from a Nepo baby or whatever. I was not one of those people. And I made CNN take me kicking and screaming, like, you're going to make me a correspondent. Nobody wanted to make me a correspondent. Nobody wanted to put me on air. And, I literally, by the sheer will and determination.
It is willpower. It is willpower. So wait, what happened? So is there, now it doesn't have to be a woman. It can be a man. Who at CNN was like, you know what, you've got the chops for this.
It was Jeff Zucker.
It was, yeah.
It was
It
Jeff
was
Zucker.
great.
I mean, look, Sam Feist and Edith
Yeah.
Chapin were my, kind of more mid-level managers, but it was really, I had some opportunities on air here and there were some women who, I'll leave their names out of it, tried to keep me down and said,
Mm-hmm.
no, 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 no. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, like, did I not have the right hair? Was I a few pounds overweight? Because I certainly was not about the reporting or the
Right.
storytelling or the knowledge. That was not it. Or I was kind of scrappy.
Yeah.
And they didn't like it. And finally, I was on air here and there and doing
Yeah.
it more. And finally I went to Jeff Zucker and I was like, I want to be a correspondent. And Jonathan Wald, who was with NBC, was with CNN at the time and knew Jeff pretty well, was like the Jeff whisperer. And he told me how to talk to him. And Jeff really, I would say to his credit, gave me the chance and the opportunity to prove myself and
Yeah.
really kind of put me in the lane of making me. I was like an on-air reporter, which you see that a lot more. I was one of the first at CNN, the on-air reporters.
Amazing.
But it was really Jeff that made me a correspondent. But I want to talk about my women.
Please talk about
all
your
my
women.
pictures.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's do your
So
photos.
we said that after there are 4 women I'd say that that kind of led me, and still
Yes.
I lead with them every day. So one of them is my grandma Libby, who was my mom's mom. And when I was younger, she lived in northern New Jersey, and I used to go to see her on spring breaks. And she was just so wonderful. And I feel like she always had this like wonderful attitude and optimism, and always was fun, and always had a show tune for you, put up your tears and cheer up, whatever, you know what I mean? But anything, like she always had a little old school.
Yes.
But always, like, whenever I was down, my parents were divorced and it was a difficult family situation. She just always picked me up. This is Libby.
Oh. Libby. Oh, cute. Was she
And when she was the best cook. And when my mother moved to Arizona, again, I'll tell you about it because of her health, I moved in with her. And I lived with her for the 4 years before I moved into New York City by myself.
Oh.
And that was just, you know what I mean? There were rough times trying to make, work your way up. And I'd come home and she'd have dinner for me and we would go on diets together. And she would, she'd always have a glass of wine for me at night. And then I would take the bottle into her bedroom and we would watch TV together. And I was working for some, I don't know, horrible job. And she'd be like, Grandma, I hate it. And she'd be like, just quit. I'll help you. And then, that would enabled me to take a job, my first job in journalism. Remember when you used to have these little shopper newspapers on your driveway?
Yes.
I had one called the Suburbanite. And that's where I worked, at the Suburbanite. I made like $12,000, but I lived with Grandma Libby and she helped me. And, I think I carry her with me because I like to think of myself as a thoughtful person who's always looking out for other people, trying to make their day or give them a kind word or make them feel good or give them a little gift or a little surprise to just brighten their life a little. And I try to carry that. I
love that.
Yeah, I think I have a lot of her in me. Maybe sometimes it's to a fault. You know what I mean? Like, people like that sometimes become like taken advantage of, and I certainly have in my life. But I don't care. Like, you are who you are, and I think I have a lot of Grandma Libby in me.
I think you do too, because I even remember talking to you about Substack, and I called you up and we were talking, and you're like, it's actually, it's kind of like when you scroll on Instagram and you see people that look like they have it all together and stuff, and you're just very like, listen, it's hard. This is hard, and like you're very like, you're an open book.
Yeah, I mean, I think so, and I think that's why, I try to be authentic. And people who, when you say, oh, I'm very authentic, most people that say they're authentic are not authentic, but it's exhausting to not be yourself.
Oh my God.
This is Grandma Libby with my mom.
They look a lot alike.
Yeah.
Yes, I see it. What's your mom's name?
That's my mom, Janice.
Oh,
that's me and my mom.
So pretty. So
And
cute.
then this is okay. So my mom my mom Janice. We grew up in New Jersey, and then the reason why she moved out to Arizona and went with my brother who was going to college is because she got MS in her early 40s, and
Sorry.
it's been really difficult watching her decline and her health over the years. But the reason why she leads me is because of her resilience and refusing to, her father, my Grandpa Mac, he got diabetes in his 50s or whatever. And when he retired, he just got into bed and never got, you know what I mean? And he might have watched TV in bed for 10 years. My mother got up every day, went out, did her thing. When she couldn't drive anymore, we had caregivers for her, but she would go out, she would always, and she had rough days, but she, just tried to look at the positive and keep a positive attitude and keep fighting. And for her 60th birthday, I took her to Paris. I saved up every American Express point, every mile, everything. And I took her to Paris for her 60th.
Oh.
We had such a wonderful trip, and it was something she never got to do. And so for 70th, I did the same. I saved another 10 years of American Express miles, points, this. And at the time when you're with CNN, you get a lot of that stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I said, where do you want to go? You want to go to Rome? You want to go to London? She said, I want to go to Vegas. I want to go to the Vegas, and I want to stay at the Bellagio. And I want to go to this, and I want to go to that, and I want to go to Chippendales. Ready?
All right, Mom. Oh my God. You are not joking. Oh my God. Are you in
Journalist
that?
Labott. I'm behind there, and that her sister is in there too. I'm in the kimono.
So, wait, when was this? How long ago was that?
It was in 2018.
Oh, so
And
not that long ago.
I pulled out every stop I had, every card, anybody, you, me, Brooke, everybody that knew anybody in Vegas, free drink, free appetizer, birthday drink, birthday appetizer. Well, and so, one of our friends, Mark Adelman, I'm sure you know Mark.
Yeah.
Called up some friends in Vegas, or, one of our friends called someone in Vegas, and they treated her like a queen. And, you're allowed to go up on stage afterwards and take a picture with the Chippendales, but Mom couldn't get out of her wheelchair. So they all came down and took a picture.
Thank God. Sure,
she was a baller. She was a baller. She was a baller in Vegas.
That is the best. Like, I totally did not expect
that's us
a bunch of half naked guys in the photo. That's a special one. That's a keeper.
Yeah.
That's a keeper. Oh
and
my God.
Yeah. Just quickly, I have a couple of friends that also I wanted to mention. Zane Vergy, who was my partner at CNN. She was a correspondent.
Yeah.
Zane.
Yes. Oh, cool.
Zane, the reason Zane is an inspiration to me is because she's always teaching herself new things. And this is one of the things I admired about Henry Kissinger, is that he died when he was 100. He was still writing. He was still learning. He learned about AI and became like an expert in AI. And Zane did the same thing actually with AI. Just taught herself, is always, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, totally.
I just think you can't ever give up on growing and learning new things and becoming a stronger person. And that's really kind of who she was. And that's, that's really, Zane was, and she moved to Kenya to take care of her parents who were, in poor health. And that's who she is. But she's still she's on Substack too. She has a Substack called The Rundown. And she's trying to teach people about, you can use AI for this. You can use AI for this. You can teach yourself new things. People are worried about what AI is going to take away from you. but you can also use AI to make your life a lot easier. And she became a fellow at the Harvard something institute or whatever. But,
Yeah.
people that always want to make themselves better people that want to have positive attitudes, people that have resilience and wake up every day and say, I'm not going to let whatever problem, insert X, get the best of me. Those are the people that have really led me. I would say the career part has been a really hard slog. And I've had people who have, mentored me or,
Yeah.
advised me over the years, but I never had anybody that really was formative in my career.
Yeah.
But these women kind of helped me, my grandma, my mother, Zane, my friend Andrea, who passed away from cancer, my roommate, she was my college roommate, who I'm still very close to her family. These women just are, have kind of shaped who I am and the kind of person that I am. And so I think that's more important than any career. And
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's also very it's interesting that you're kind of, I think, someone who's paying it forward too. Are there younger women around you in your life, or friends your age or our age, who you're kind of, you know, boosting up there? Because I think it's very easy, especially in Washington, and I really admire you for this. You have a lot of
Oh, thank
confidence.
you.
You're very confident,
Um,
you exude confidence, and I think that's a hard
well,
thing.
there's one thing between, I think it's hard to have confidence when other people don't have confidence in you. So at CNN, like, I had all this confidence in myself and people kept saying, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
At what point, if these people don't have confidence in you, do you, say,
Right. Maybe you're right. Maybe
maybe
you're
you're
right.
right.
Yeah.
I try to mentor young people. There are some people that I have looked out for and have tried to mentor. And, some of them I think have talent and some of them I don't think have talent, but I want to help them anyway. And,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do what people did to me and
Yeah.
say, you know what I mean? Like,
Totally.
you can have your dream. You can, maybe you'll make it. Maybe you'll make it. So tell them how it is to make it. I have this other friend. Her name is Janine Driver. She's a body language expert. I call her the human lie detector
Ooh,
because you
that's
should have her
scary
on
to be
some.
friends with some.
You
I
know
mean,
what? I'm gonna introduce
I
her.
would
You
love
gotta
that.
have her as a guest.
I would love that.
Janine Driver, is also like that. Like, she's just this. Where do people find the confidence to, not let life get
Yes.
them down? And
Yes.
she just, the confidence and the way with which you deliver your material. Now she's speaking, to keynote speakers, thousands of people,
Amazing. Yeah.
because, she had confidence and she has confidence in what she does. And she is very good.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? There are other people that, if it's not so easy to make it,
Yes.
you just say, oh, well, maybe I won't
Yeah.
do it.
There's a little
Maybe
bit
I
of a
won't
fake it till you make it,
fake
right?
it till you make it. Fake it till you make it. I'm all about fake it. I'm still doing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, because there were I know, me too. There were times, I mean, you've done it a lot more than I have, but one of the most nervous, I I was so nervous at like a press conference in Lisbon and President Obama was there and I was going to ask him a question and like my heart was like going to explode. I just was so worried, and that was probably the most nervous I've ever been. I remember being on Air Force One on the way back and getting a terrible migraine, and it was like when you are in a position to ask a person, and I think we used to put the presidency on this huge pedestal. I
Yeah.
think it's changed now. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. There was a feeling like I can't believe that I'm even breathing the same air as this person. Do you know
Right.
what I mean? Which is not
Right.
helpful
Right.
because that's
But
like
once you asked the question and it worked out and he answered
yeah,
it and everything, didn't you say like, hey, it
yeah,
wasn't
that
so
wasn't so
bad. I could do that. And the next time was easier. And the next time was easier.
yes, yes.
And
You're like
I feel
ripping
like
off the paint.
sometimes, yeah, we're our own worst enemies in sense of we can't do it. Like, we can do it. And, if you don't do it the right way the first time, you fall and you try it again. But I think the people that are the most successful in life and you know, everything, are the ones that don't let their fear, you know, their fear get in the way of what they know, you know, they can do. I mean, I'm sure like writing your first book, like people have said to me, and you and I have talked about this, like, why don't you write a book? And I'm like, who would want to read what I have to write? I can't write a book. I can't do that.
I want to read the Diplo Babes.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
But when you wrote your first book, wasn't it like, I don't know if I could write a book?
Yeah, I mean, it was scarier. I kind of knew that I could string together all these stories because it's really an oral history in a lot of ways. And I had some great material and great interviews, but I was very nervous before it came out that like no one would read it and it would get terrible reviews. And, you know, like I think everybody has that fear. And you're right. Once you do it, you just, and then, you know what? You do get a bad review here and there. And my thing is like, I just don't read them. If someone wants to say something nasty,
don't read the comments.
Don't read the comments.
Don't read the comments. Someone one time gave me a keychain that said, don't read the comments, because, you know, are we responsible for how other people respond to us, or are we just responsible for the effort? Like, if we're going to continue, I've been thinking a lot about this. Like, if we're going to judge ourselves by how other people judge us, then you know, you can make yourself crazy. But if you can judge yourself by your own performance and say, I know I did this right, or I know I did this wrong, and here's what I did great, and here's how I could do better based on whether, you know, someone else judged us. Why is their opinion of me more important than my opinion of me?
100%. And you know,
I don't know. I've been thinking a lot about it. I'm thinking a lot about that.
Yeah, I think that like hiding behind a computer and writing negative things about people is just really cowardly, you know? And
so some anonymous person in their pajamas or whatever, like I care more about what they think than what I think. Now there were comments that like, oh, you're fat or you're this. And I thought, yeah, I could lose a few pounds. Like that's a good, you know what I mean? But yeah, but at the time, but what I'm saying is like, this person that doesn't know me, or even people that do, like their opinions of us shouldn't be more important than our positions of us. Like, 100%. Do you know this person? Or, you know, there are some people that we do know that judge us, and we think we should, I think to ourselves, do I really care? Do I like this person? Do I value their opinion? No. Well, then why do I care what they think of me?
I know. And yet it's the hardest thing to get over, I think. So yeah, learn not to look at those comments, especially if someone comments on your appearance. Like if anyone comments, I remember during COVID, I wore like eye makeup and I put it on the wrong way. And it was during a Today Show interview, and someone like commented on my Facebook that I looked like I had COVID and like I looked really sick. And it was like, who has the time to nitpick someone's makeup application? You know,
I think I remember something about like Savannah Guthrie years ago got called at like the last minute to anchor nightly news on NBC. And, you know, she might've ran into the studio to kind of, you know what I mean? Like go like this and be like, okay, you know, she might've had 10 minutes to get ready. And people were like talking about her appearance.
It's like,
and I remember at the time thinking, and she kind of said like, you know, I had 10 minutes to get ready. And it's like, why do people want to put other people down?
It's very, and women.
You could debate my arguments. You could say, I don't really agree with you on something. You don't have to do it in a mean way, but to say like, oh, what's wrong with your hair? What's wrong with your this?
Oh my God, it drives me crazy. I know. And think of all the time that you spent in a makeup chair at CNN. And like, I always look at those reporters like you and just feel like that's so unfair, because the men are out there like, you know, relaxing or like doing reporting, and you're spending an hour, at least I did, in a makeup chair getting your hair. And it's like ridiculous. Anyway, that's a subject for your cosmopolitics. I would love to come on with you and Danielle. And talk.
Yes. I would love it.
Thank you so much. You've been really generous.
It was such a pleasure, and I love the show, and look forward to seeing more. Like I just have been loving the interviews. I love the one with Lisa Franchetti and Brooke, and
thank you.
And I hope everybody will come join us at Cosmopolitics and for Hot Takes Happy Hour. And we're definitely going to have Kate join us. So stay tuned.
I can't wait. I can't wait. I like espresso martinis, so we'll have to do that.
All right.
Right.
Excellent.
All right.
Okay.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.